The untold story of the Trojan War. Imagine a war that lasted 10 long years, sparked by a stolen queen and a giant wooden horse. This isn't just a fairy tale. It's a saga that shaped history, whispered through the ages, full of brave heroes and clever tricks. But what if the story we know is missing the real, gritty details, the hidden truths that make it even more incredible? For centuries, people thought the Trojan War was just a myth, a grand story made up by the ancient Greek poet Homer. But his epic poems, the Iliad and the Odyssey, told tales of gods fighting alongside men, of Achilles the nearly invincible warrior, and the cunning Odysseus. These stories were passed down from generation to generation, teaching people about bravery, honor, and the terrible costs of war. Yet, without any physical proof, scholars often brush them off as mere fiction, fun to read, but not real history. Then, in the late 1800s, a German explorer named Heinrich Schliemann began digging in a place called Hisarlik, in modern-day Turkey. He was absolutely convinced that this was the site of ancient Troy, the city of the fabled war. His findings were truly amazing. He unearthed layers upon layers of ruins, showing that a great city had stood there for thousands of years, built and rebuilt many times over. This discovery shook the world and forced everyone to look at Homer's tales in a new light. It suddenly seemed possible that the Trojan War might have actually happened, not just in poems, but in the real world. The idea of a war fought over a woman, Helen of Sparta, the most beautiful woman in the world, sounds almost too romantic to be true. The story goes that Paris, a prince of Troy, visited Sparta and, with the help of the goddess Aphrodite, convinced Helen to run away with him. Her husband, King Menelaus, was furious. He gathered his brother Agamemnon, the powerful king of Mycenae, and many other Greek heroes, like Odysseus, Achilles, and Ajax, to sail to Troy and bring Helen back. This grand alliance of Greek cities formed a massive army, determined to get revenge and reclaim their honor. But was it really just about Helen? Many historians now believe the reasons for the Trojan War were much deeper, more about power, trade, and control of important shipping routes. Troy was located in a prime spot, controlling access to the Dardanelles, a narrow strait connecting the Aegean Sea to the Black Sea. This strait was vital for trade ships carrying valuable goods like metals, grains, and timber. According to a study published in the Journal of Archaeological Science in 2018, control over these maritime routes would have brought immense wealth and power to any city that held it. It's very likely that the Greeks, who were also great traders and sailors, wanted to break Troy's power and gain control of these crucial trade lanes. The war began with the Greek fleet arriving at the shores of Troy. The Trojans, led by their wise king Priam and their brave son Hector, were a formidable enemy. For 9 long years, the Greeks tried to capture the city, but Troy's massive walls held strong. These walls, described by Homer as impregnable, were indeed very thick and tall, as archaeological digs have confirmed. Evidence from the layers of Troy VA, which many scholars link to the time of the war, shows signs of fire and destruction, suggesting a violent end to the city. Dr. Manfred Korfmann, a leading archaeologist who continued Schliemann's work, found that Troy was much larger and more important than previously thought, a city worthy of such an epic struggle. The Iliad focuses on just a few weeks in the 10th year of the war, a time of intense fighting and emotional drama. It tells us about the great warrior Achilles, who was almost immortal but had one weak spot, his heel. It also tells of Hector, the noblest of the Trojan princes, a devoted husband and father, who fought bravely to protect his city and family. These characters feel incredibly real, their struggles and choices resonating even today. Homer's skill in showing their strengths and weaknesses makes the story unforgettable. One of the most famous parts of the Iliad is the duel between Achilles and Hector. Hector, knowing his city's fate depended on him, bravely faced Achilles outside the city walls. This was a battle between the two greatest warriors of their time, a clash that would decide the fate of many. Achilles, furious because Hector had killed his beloved friend Patroclus, fought with unmatched rage and ultimately defeated Hector. He then dragged Hector's body around the city walls, a cruel act meant to disrespect his enemy and break the spirit of the Trojans. This brutal scene, while shocking, shows the extreme emotions and harsh realities of ancient warfare. The war, however, wasn't just about heroes and their personal battles. It was about the constant struggle, the daily grind of soldiers, and the fear of losing everything. Life for the ordinary soldier would have been tough, filled with crude weapons, simple food, and the constant threat of death. Ancient Greek pottery and artwork often depict soldiers with shields, spears, and bronze armor, much like what archaeologists have found from that period. These artifacts give us a glimpse into the military technology and practices of the late Bronze Age, the time when the Trojan War is believed to have taken place. After Hector's death, the Trojans were heartbroken and their morale dropped. But they were not completely defeated. The war continued, with new heroes emerging on both sides. The Greek hero Achilles himself met his end, shot in his vulnerable heel by an arrow guided by the god Apollo, according to the myths. His death was a major blow to the Greek army, proving that even the greatest warriors could fall. This moment in the story reminds us of the fragility of life and the unpredictable nature of war. The war reached its turning point with the legendary Trojan horse. The Greeks, tired of the long siege and unable to breach Troy's massive walls, came up with a cunning plan. Odysseus, known for his cleverness, suggested building a giant wooden horse. The Greeks pretended to sail away, leaving the horse behind as a gift to Athena, the goddess of wisdom and warfare, to ensure a safe journey home. The Trojans, overjoyed that the Greeks had finally left, brought the huge horse inside their city walls, celebrating their apparent victory. They did not know the terrible secret it held within its hollow belly. Inside the horse, hidden in the darkness, were some of the bravest Greek warriors, led by Odysseus. As night fell, and the Trojans were deep in their celebrations, the Greeks silently crept out of the horse. They opened the city gates, letting in the rest of the Greek army, who had secretly sailed back under the cover of darkness. The city of Troy was caught completely by surprise. The invasion was swift and brutal. The Greeks set fire to the city, killing many Trojans and enslaving the women and children. The once mighty city of Troy fell in a single, devastating night. This event became a symbol of trickery and deceit, forever remembered as the Trojan horse. But how much of this story is true? Could a giant wooden horse really have been used? While no physical evidence of a giant horse has ever been found, some historians suggest the Trojan horse might have been a metaphor. It could have been a siege engine, a large wooden machine used to break down walls, perhaps shaped like a horse. Or it could have been a natural disaster, like an earthquake, that weakened the city's defenses, allowing the Greeks to finally invade. According to a 2011 paper in Earth Science Reviews, the region around Troy is highly prone to earthquakes, and a major quake could have shattered the city's walls, making it vulnerable. Homer might have used the story of a wooden horse to explain the sudden and unexpected fall of such a powerful city. The aftermath of the war was tragic for both sides. Troy was destroyed, its people scattered or enslaved. The surviving Greek heroes, though victorious, faced long and difficult journeys home, many encountering further hardships and tragedies. Odysseus, for instance, famously spent 10 years wandering the seas, battling monsters and gods, before finally returning to his home in Ithaca. His journey, told in the Odyssey, is another epic tale of survival, resilience, and the longing for home. It reminds us that even victory can come at a great cost. For a long time, the location of Troy was a mystery, and its existence doubted. But Heinrich Schliemann's excavations in the 1870s at Hizarlik changed everything. He found multiple layers of cities, one built on top of another, spanning thousands of years. The layer labeled Troy VA, dating to around 1250 BC, shows clear signs of widespread destruction by fire and warfare, matching the traditional timeline of the Trojan War. This layer contained arrowheads and human remains, hinting at a violent end. Modern archaeological techniques, like carbon dating and ceramic analysis, have helped confirm these timelines, as noted in a 2009 article in Archaeology International. Schliemann's work was revolutionary, but also controversial. He was eager to prove Homer right, and sometimes dug too quickly, possibly damaging important archaeological layers. Later archaeologists, like Wilhelm Dorpfeld and especially Manfred Korfmann, took a more scientific approach. Korfmann's team, starting in the 1980s, discovered a much larger lower city, outside the citadel walls, protected by a complex system of ditches and palisades. This showed that Troy was not just a small fortress, but a large, bustling city, capable of fielding a significant army, as reported by the University of Tübingen in 2001. This discovery made the idea of a 10-year siege by a massive Greek army much more believable. The Bronze Age collapse, a period of widespread upheaval and destruction around 1200 BC, adds another layer to the story. Many major civilizations in the Mediterranean, including the Mycenaean Greeks and the Hittite Empire, who were neighbors and sometimes rivals of Troy, suddenly collapsed. Cities were destroyed, trade routes vanished, and entire cultures disappeared. Some historians propose that the Trojan War could have been part of this larger, violent period of decline, a regional conflict amidst widespread chaos. The war, therefore, might not have been an isolated event, but one of many struggles that marked the end of an era. The Hittite archives, ancient clay tablets discovered in what is now Turkey, offer further intriguing clues. These tablets, written in a language similar to ancient Greek, mention a kingdom called Walusa, which many scholars believe is the Hittite name for Troy, Alion in Greek. They also mention a leader named Alexandu, who signed a treaty with the Hittite king. Alexandu sounds very much like Alexander, which was another name for Paris, the Trojan prince who kidnapped Helen. This connection, highlighted in various linguistic studies, provides a powerful link between Homer's epic and actual historical records, lending more credibility to the existence of Troy and its royal family. Furthermore, the Hittite tablets speak of a powerful western kingdom called Ahiowa, which many scholars identify as the Achaeans, the name Homer used for the Greeks. These tablets describe conflicts and diplomatic dealings between the Hittites and the Ahiowans over control of various regions, including Walusa, Troy. This suggests a complex political landscape where the Trojan War could have fit in, not as a simple romantic story, but as a strategic conflict between major powers. The details in these ancient documents, analyzed in depth by the Journal of Near Eastern Studies in 2003, help to paint a picture of a real world in which the Trojan War could have occurred. The Trojan War, whether entirely factual or a blend of history and legend, has profoundly impacted Western culture. It has inspired countless works of art, literature, and even films. The themes of love, betrayal, honor, sacrifice, and the futility of war continue to resonate with audiences across generations. The story of Achilles' wrath, Hector's noble defiance, and Odysseus's cleverness teaches us about the complexities of human nature and the eternal struggle between fate and free will. Even the concept of a Trojan horse has entered our everyday language, referring to any trick that seems harmless but hides a dangerous intent. In the world of computers, a Trojan is a type of harmful software that disguises itself as something useful, much like the wooden horse. This shows how deeply the ancient story has embedded itself into our modern consciousness, proving its enduring power and relevance, as described by philologists studying the impact of classical literature. The archaeological evidence continues to grow, slowly piecing together the puzzle of ancient Troy. Ongoing excavations reveal more about the city's defenses, its daily life, and its destruction. Each artifact found, each wall uncovered, brings us closer to understanding the truth behind the legend. While we may never find a definitive receipt for a wooden horse, the sheer amount of evidence points to a powerful city that existed, engaged in conflicts, and ultimately met a violent end. The debate over the Trojan War's historicity is still ongoing, but the pendulum has swung strongly towards believing in a historical core. Most scholars now agree that a major conflict, possibly several conflicts, did take place at Hizarlik during the Late Bronze Age. The details may be exaggerated or altered by poetic tradition, but the essence of a great war fought over a great city seems increasingly plausible. This perspective is strongly supported by the German Archaeological Institute, which has overseen much of the recent work at Troy. So, the next time you hear about the Trojan War, remember it's more than just an old story. It's a window into a lost world, a time of bronze heroes and powerful kingdoms. It's a tale of human ambition, love, revenge, and the devastating consequences of conflict. It is a story that refuses to be forgotten, a legend that continues to inspire us to search for truth amidst the ruins of the past. And as archaeologists continue their dedicated work, perhaps one day, even more of the untold story will finally be revealed.